So today we are working with Spiked Performance on some sexy hood louvers that we are very excited to have here. And Stefan is going to be installing them on our race car's hood.
And Dylan's going to be stealing that hood and putting it on his car.
It's mine now.
Big shout out to Jim over at Spike Performance. He sent these out for us for the race car. So what you're seeing here is the hood to the race car. Yes, we have a shop. No, I'm not in it. My tools and stuff aren't there yet. We're going to install these and then we will test them on Dylan's VVT Turbo. We'll do a before and after, same day, same temperature. And I will show you guys the IAT and coolant temperature differences. I know these work. It's just a question of how well. I absolutely love these things. I think they look so sick. And what better car to put them on than a car that's going to get abused on track. So these will eventually make it on the race car full time. Let's get to work. I'll carry you guys through how it's all done and we'll see how sweet they look at the end. So things that you get in the kit, you get 2 louvers. These are the new long style. They're bigger than the Rev 1 or version 1s. It comes with vinyl cutouts that match the louver shape. We'll get to that in a minute. And then it also comes with all the rivets. These are 1/8 rivets and a sticker.
Awesome. Yes!
So this is everything you would need to bolt it up. You don't need to supply any of that yourself. Things you do need to supply are some sort of cutoff wheel. You can use a Dremel with little cutoff bits or a cutoff wheel like this. A rivet gun. This one is set to 1/8 rivets. Masking tape, scissors, a drill with 1/8 bits, Team Red by the way, and a measuring tape. And if your hood is still on the car, you will need some sort of metric socket set with a 12 and a 14 just to take the hood off the car. And then lastly, you'll want to pull his instructions up, which I'll put a link to in the bio, and that'll be everything that you need to really get going. Oh, and of course, because it's called out in the instructions, an ice cold beverage. Nice Jenny Springbok. First measurements you're going to want to do on the hood is a 200 millimeter measurement from the nose of the hood. If you have a tape measure, they typically have inch and metric. So this is in centimeters. So we're going to go to 20 centimeters and we're going to mark that. So that'll be right about there. So there's the dot. That is 20 centimeters or 200 millimeters from the front. And we're going to repeat that on this side. So now you got 200 millimeters from the nose. And we're going to run a tape line right underneath that straight across. So the next step here is we're going to take tape measure again, measure in 90 millimeters or 9 centimeters in, and mark your tape. 90 right there. And then over here we're going to do the same thing, 90 millimeters, mark your tape. Up next you're going to want to take the first of 2 vinyl pieces and peel the backing off. This is all sticky. These little holes here is where the rivets are going to go. So take this and I just have soapy water. I'm going to spray that down on the back of this and on the hood, and that will let me move the vinyl around a little bit. For this step you can either use a credit card or I have a vinyl applicator. So here you can see, here's the 90 millimeter mark. It lines up with the edge of the black, which is underneath here. It's kind of hard to see. And then the bottom edge is flush with the top of the tape. So now we're just going to squeegee out the water. And I'm going to jump to the other side while I'm here. If you want the vinyl to peel up, or this cover paper to peel up easily, let the soap and water kind of evaporate a little bit and then peel it back. You might have to guide it and hold it down a little bit with your hands. So just a comparison, this is right on the tape line. This is right on the tape line. This flat lines right up with this main edge here. Same with this, lines right up with that edge. I'm gonna take my golden Sharpie and trace the inside. If I lose the vinyl, it's all still there. For the next part, you're gonna wanna mask off any area you're not cutting. The next step is to cut. And I'm gonna say it, wear PPE. You only got 2 eyes. When you cut this, you cut inside of the vinyl. Not outside, inside. Here's the gold line, here's the vinyl, and here's the outside of the vinyl. We're gonna cut on the gold all the way around. If the cut is not that pretty, the hood vents will cover everything. So don't worry if it's a little jagged or whatnot. As long as you don't go past the rivet holes or like very close to the rivet holes, you'll be fine. Let's get to cutting, it's my favorite part. So you'll have to pop these separate. It's just like some sort of adhesive to keep the under webbing attached. The next step is we're going to cut out the remaining webbing underneath. So that's all cut. You can see the shape from the top. It's all hollow in here. The next step that we're going to do is a little bit of cleanup. I'm just going to take that same cutoff wheel and put a flappy wheel on it and just hit the edges real quick, make sure there's nothing sharp. So when we're working on the car underneath, we're not going to cut ourselves. So obviously it's aluminum, so it won't rust, but just for some peace of mind, I'm going to hit it with some gloss black. That way when you pop the hood, you don't see all my screw ups from where I slip with the angle grinder. So the next step is going to be to drill our 1/8 holes in the hood. All you really need is access to one hole. So I'm going to go ahead and drill that guy. And then we're going to grab our first louver. The way these are oriented is this tall upright spat goes up. So that'll go down here like this, and obviously we're going to pull the rest off. And you'll locate first point just like that. So let's pull this all off. We're gonna spot drill the first hole here, and I'll show you why in a second. So we've drilled the first hole in both. And the reason I did that before I removed the rest of the tape, as you saw, is because when I pulled the tape up, it took the vinyl with it. So now that you have one spot hole drilled on each, you can set both of them in and just place the dowel pin in. And what we're gonna do is start drilling the rest of the holes. The next one is gonna be opposite. So bottom left, top right. You can just get them started if you want. And then just mark the rest of the holes. I don't suggest drilling it with this installed because if you punch the drill in too far, you will mark this powder coating finish and it won't look as nice. So I'm just gonna take the drill and touch off on each hole. Now this way, you'll take these out. So now we'll just go finish the rest of these off. Next, you'll take your rivet gun, set it to 1/8, push down and pull. There's your first one. Do that 8 times. If this doesn't look absolutely awesome, I don't know what does. I mean, what screams race car more than hood vents? Yeah, look at that. So this is a remarkably really easy job. It was a little overwhelming at first. I mean, I've installed plenty of fender flares and things like that. But this needs to be symmetrical because you can look at both of them at the same time. Great parts by Spiked. I will never recommend a brand to you guys that I do not believe in. And nothing could have been more straightforward than this install. And actually, I'll just put a link to these specifically and a link to Spiked Performance's website in the description below. They have door bushings, fender vents, which I'm also going to be trying to grab a set of for the race car, hood vents. These are Miata specific. They're designed to work around the webbing underneath and the high pressure zones in the car. So great product. Cannot stress that enough. I just think they look absolutely awesome.
So now that the louvers were installed in the race car hood, we took that hood and put it on my car. And they're probably gonna stay there forever. Probably.
It looks really good.
I love it.
See our Instagram post from the other day.
Yes. Anyway, we installed the hood on my car and we wanted to take it through a series of tests. Just did a lap right here on a highway that we're a minute from, and I drove down and back. It was essentially 10 minutes down, 10 minutes back today, and it was 82 degrees was the air temperature. I don't know the humidity. It was really humid today. There was no sun. That was all overcast, so pretty good test situation. We were measuring, or should I say, really paying attention to three main things. Oil temperature was one of them, not very scientific. It's just my gauge, and I don't have the ability to just look at the gauge the entire time. I am driving on the highway, so I can only glance down every so often. And then we're also watching our coolant temp, which is really easy to do. We're capturing that in Tuner Studio. And then we're also paying attention to the intake temp. Now, my sensor for the intake temp is after the intercooler. So keep that in mind as we go through these results. I want us to do a baseline run.
To explain the baseline, Dylan has turn signal intakes.
Yes.
The headlight pop-up vent. So when he's saying he taped those off, he taped turn signal intakes, the headlight intake vent. So it was like the equivalent to driving a stock bodied me out.
The results of run one was an intake temperature. You know, it kind of moved a little bit, but typically it was right around 95 degrees. The coolant temperature, it had a peak of just about 200. It like held on 200 for a moment and was holding on to 199 for a while. And the average was somewhere around 196. And the oil, it's not a very fine gauge, but I could see it creeping off of 240, and it definitely did not make me happy. 240 seems like to be an okay number, but anything beyond that is definitely like danger zone. From there, we didn't just take everything off, because most of you don't have those turn signal intakes or the NACA duct on the headlight. I took off the tape for the louvers and then just did the run again. I did let the car cool down. 180 degrees was the oil temperature, and I think it was about the same for the coolant both runs. So run two, with the louvers open, we had an intake temperature of about 2 degrees cooler. It was clearly more efficient at drawing air through that intercooler.
What he's saying when it's going through the intercooler is the way these hood vents are working is they're extraction vents, so they're not actually feeding into the intake filter. What it's going to do is just suck more air through the radiator and the intercooler setup and actually cool those more effectively, so that the charged air that's going through there will be cooled more. Not the air coming into the intake itself directly from the start. So
exactly. The coolant itself was about 2 degrees lower with the peak, and the average was about the same.
And that'll happen with the thermostat because it's it's an OEM thermostat, so it's going to open when it opens, and it's going to try to maintain that heat.
I will say it was noticeable in watching the car warm up. It took a little while longer to get up to that temperature. So the oil temp was bang on 240. Didn't go over that. It didn't start creeping beyond it, so I was definitely a little happier. So for anyone with a completely stock setup, it definitely looks like we're seeing quantifiable results. So then the last run, I opened it all up. I took the tape off of the turn signal intakes as well as that NACA duct, and we saw another decrease in those temperatures, which I was almost expecting to see either no difference or potentially a negative. It's a very controversial topic, these turn signal intakes, if they work or not. Pulled everything off, and it dropped another 3 degrees on the intake temp, which was like substantial. And the NACA duct is ideally sucking in ambient air. It's not getting any sort of heat soak from taking in air from underneath the hood, so you're already starting with cooler air. The coolant temperature was about another 2 degrees lower in the peak. We only got to around 196 peak, and it was about 2 degrees cooler with the average. It was very clear when you watched everything over the course of the whole run that it was definitely cooler. So I'd say 2 degrees is still fairly significant. And then lastly, the oil temp. Dylan's just not happy about this one. It's 240 still. Brought time for oil cooler. I don't like that number, to be honest. And guys, I can't recommend this enough. It's not just a cool looking piece. It clearly serves a function, and I have a cooler car now because of it. In both ways.
Yeah.
That is a pun. In summary, what are your thoughts?
As far as the install goes, super simple. Jim, owner of Spike Performance, the installation instructions were crystal clear. Like I just read through them once and could pretty much do it right off of that. They're all powder coated. It's all super nice.
It looks really
nice.
I didn't even talk about that. Jim, I've seen your Instagram. They look great. They don't do it justice. They do not. It looks so cool.
Really quality pieces, and they look good.
We can't recommend this product enough, and hopefully with Jim and Spike Performance, we can work and collaborate more with them. I saw he's got a prototype diffuser. If you like this video, stay tuned. We're gonna have more stuff like this coming out. Thanks for watching. Okay, so got that out of the way. I got that out of the way.
Didn't happen.
It never happened. I'll start with, oh shoot.